Você cree que va a ser una partida muy divertida también.
Consigue la baja, pone 4 en contra de 5, pero momentáneamente 5 en contra de 5. Te queda 1 en contra de 4 y no queda tiempo para hacer absolutamente nada.
We can beat all these guys, and we've been so close to beating nearly all of them, you know.
Bastante rápido, Seven una vez más, con el 3 en contra de 4, 10 en 10 la ventaja con 2 jugadores ahora.
Igualmente por la zona, dejando puede llegar sobrando, viene de frente, le pone 1!
Mas individualmente falando, eu não tenho medo de ninguém. Eu acho que o time também não tem medo de ninguém. Os caras são como a gente.
Piquiti cambiar de posición, Paika sobre, mira vos con Sally, con Cordina, estoy como loco, aguanta el 6, podrás ir sumando. Que pique el manito, 3 eliminaciones y quiere la cuarta.
Nosotros como equipo sabemos que si estamos nosotros en un mood así perfecto, le podemos ganar a cualquier equipo.
Lo querían cegar, pero todavía queda allí con la visual.
A ver si lo puede hacer, estaba cebando con el castigo en contra de Day06.
Si lo puede encontrar, quedaba contenido. Dante Deus con el castigo, perfecto.
E é isso, eu acho que vai ser um ótimo confronto. Os dois times têm violência no vertelão. E vai ser divertido jogar contra eles.
Enrique que podría aprovecharlo, se lleva la vida de Sam, 2 en contra de 1. Toca la espalda, que recorre un poquito. Canta renueva igualmente la flash. Santos ya se va a ir por 3.
We're going into this match ready, excited, and just kind of ready to punch our ticket to the #1 seed.
Desplegar los agarros cegados, grandes oportunidades, termina atrapando a 2 y aprovecha perfecta por punta. Igualmente las intenciones y cuidado con este cuello de botella. Se lleva el primero, consigue el segundo y hasta...
It's the final day of group stage play, and all but one of the playoff spots are still up for grabs. Yesterday, the top seeds from each region all won out against their domestic counterparts. Currently, 3 teams sit at an even 2-2 record, while TSM and GLRS both currently sit at 1-3. Today's slate of matchups could potentially leave us with 5 teams having 2-3 records, meaning tiebreakers across the board. While it's unlikely that all of those pieces fall in line, the fact that it's possible is a testament to just how close tournament play has been, and how unfortunate it would be to say goodbye to 2 of these teams before playoffs begin. It cannot be stressed enough, though, how important a win for each and every team this week is, as everyone outside of M80 are still playing for their tournament lives.
It's time to find out which teams are going to make it to playoffs in Ascension and which teams are going to get eliminated after today. It's all chaos, it's all disaster, but it's so much fun. Welcome back, everybody, to Ascension Americas. I'm going to be your host for today, Dryad, and today, once again, I'm joined by a very special analyst desk. I'm joined by Roy and Emily. And guys, we talked about it yesterday. Now we get the chance to continue talking about it today. Today is going to be a mess. Nobody's out of the contention for playoffs just yet, Emily, but I mean, we don't know how it's going to play out. We can have a quintuple, a tie. Things can get really, really crazy.
Yeah, usually the last day of groups is kind of boring because it's already set in stone of who's going to move forward. But not today. It's going to be really exciting because literally every match matters. It might come down to multiple tiebreakers like we saw in the video, which means that every round is going to count. So for today, especially our first match, a win is needed from GLRS.
There's the teams that are trying to get those wins and the teams that depend on having the win to have a chance. It's not even a guarantee, and that is specifically Roy, TSM, and GLRS. They need this win to have a chance. They're still not guaranteed if they're going to make it to playoffs. So now they're going to depend on the results from everybody else.
Yeah, if you're viewing this from home, this is pretty much simple. If you end today with 1 win, you're not making it to playoffs. If you have 2 wins, you have a chance to make it. If you have 3 wins and above, you are pretty much guaranteed a spot into the playoff section. So that is the TLDR. Of course, we have GLRS coming up here first against RETA. That should be a very good match. And obviously, I could not stress this enough, and we cannot stress this enough, that every single match matters today, and even the round differentials matter so much.
Especially because, like you said, if you get 3 wins or more, then you're guaranteed playoffs. But there's a chance that we can have a lot of these teams and every single team that is not M80 ending with 2 wins after today. So it would be all down to the maps, and things, like we said before, can get really messy. But this are going to be the matches that we're going to look at today. It's going to be RETA going against GLRS, 2Game going against M80, and their last match of the day is going to be All Night against TSM. As we mentioned before, for a lot of these teams, they're not going to only depend on themselves and their own results, but until the very last match they're going to be watching to see if they can make it. And that's a very strong possibility, Emily.
It is, and I'm really, my eyes are on the first and the very last match of the TSM and GLRS matches, because these teams are both the ones that are sitting at 1-3 currently, so their neck is really on the line, not only to qualify for playoffs, but just to prove themselves that they are better than the results that they've already put in through, which I do think that they are as well. There's a lot of factors that came into play for how their matches turned out, but today is the day where we're going to find out who moves forward to playoffs.
Well, let's find out what we had to say about it, because let's take a look at those predictions. I think yesterday the only one that I got right was the M80 win, because you can always trust that M80 is going to get those wins. But for the other ones, I got wrong. Any thoughts here, Roy? Are we sticking to this? Are we changing it like yesterday? I feel like everything makes sense. I'm happy with mine with All Nights Last.
Yeah, I dig yours. But listen, I can only speak for myself right now. I'm the least loyal predictor ever. Okay, my opinion will constantly change throughout a tournament, and I'm not ashamed of it, because we saw the way GLRS has been playing in their last match. I really dig in their new kind of flavor. They know their position is compromised. They need to step up, and they have been stepping up. And I think I'm kind of favoring GLRS in this first matchup.
What are you thinking, Emily? Are you sticking with GLRS here?
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I'm loyal. I'm gonna stick to GLRS. I don't know about my last pick with TSM though. I don't know. They haven't been able to close out some of the games where they should have been closing out. So I'll stick with TSM just because I really want NA to move forward in playoffs, obviously, but it's gonna be a really tough game for them.
It's not going to be easy for sure, especially when you're going against All Nights, and that is why it's going to depend so much on what version of these teams we're going to be seeing today. So things are going to be continuing to be so exciting, and as we said before, not only for the teams, but for you guys, if you're rooting for one of those teams that you see towards the beginning of the day or towards the end of the day, you're going to have to stick around to find out if they're going to make it through, if things are going to get messy, if it's going to go down to the maps or something else, even the rounds, it could even go down to that. But let's find out what the players have to say before today.
No, es seguro que tengo mucha margen a mejorar, porque nuestro equipo a cada partida ha mejorado mucho, y a la verdad es que todos los campeonatos, la equipo que es campeón es la equipo que más evolúe durante todo el torneo. Entonces, obviamente que como jugador también voy a evoluir mucho en ese aspecto. Yo creo que va a ser una partida muy difícil, porque ellos están en una situación complicada que necesitan ganar hoy y ganar mañana. Entonces, si pierden hoy, mañana vão chegar para jogar sin un propósito, vão llegar a jugar libres, sueltos, porque no tienen presión. Entonces va a ser la partida más difícil del torneo para nosotros, porque es un equipo que no tiene nada a perder y nosotros sí. Sata es muy bueno, ya estoy acostumbrado a jugar con él. Ano passado jugamos muchas veces contra, mi primera LAN jugué contra él. Entonces creo que va a ser una partida muy divertida también.
Eu tô muito feliz que a gente conseguiu finalmente conseguir a nossa primeira vitória aqui no Ascension. Eu acho que foi um passo muito importante pra gente. Se a gente conseguir chegar nos playoffs e ganhar a próxima partida, eu acho que nossa performance vai melhorar muito por causa desse step up inicial. Eu acho que é um time muito forte, por ser esse duo do Latam. Eles conseguiram ganhar da AK de novo, que foi um time que a gente teve problemas na última partida. Mas eu acho que é um jogo possível, e depois da gente ter ganhado a primeira partida, eu acho que nada mais é impossível. Eu acho que o Snowzy é um jogador muito bom, eu admiro ele por causa da sua habilidade com o Operator. E é isso, eu acho que vai ser um ótimo confronto. Os dois times têm duelistas muito bons e vai ser divertido jogar contra eles.
Snowzine and Sato giving a lot of respect to each other. They know each other very well. As Snowzine was saying, that was the first line that he played, that it was against Sato. So players that know each other so well. Also, both of them being Brazilian, one playing for a Brazilian organization, the other one playing for a Latin American organization, and trying to get the win today to have a chance on the side of GLRS and to guarantee your spot in playoffs on the side of RETA, Roy.
Yeah, I mean, this match, again, the players have said it. Part of the video was recorded yesterday, so he was saying that GLRS needed their win yesterday, and they actually, in fact, did get the win yesterday. So today, it's going to be there is a lot on the line. There's no playing for nothing. Both of these teams need this win. Again, I do really want to reiterate that GLRS need this win. RETA will definitely solidify their position in the playoffs if they get this. So again, a lot is on the line. But I think for me, the best part about this match, besides the stakes, is the fact that these teams are very evenly matched. They have similar team structures. They have a similar style. And I think it's going to be, at minimum, a very, very entertaining and high-level Valorant match.
This is what we should be expecting from this match between RETA and GLRS. A reminder for everybody as well, these are the #1 seeds of Brazil and Latin America now going against each other on our last day of the group stage to find out who's going to make it to playoffs, who's going to have a chance to make it. And as we see it right at the bottom, it's going to be, it gets really... It's really confusing, so I don't want to tell you all the possibilities and everything that GLRS needs to do and what everybody else needs to do. Let's see if GLRS they get that win first, and then we'll talk about it. Emily.
Yeah, and just recapping from yesterday too, this was GLRS's first win of the tournament, and also both of the teams that we're going to watch right now first had a win yesterday. A player that has been shining for all of us, I think, is Luxo. Luxo's right there at the top of the rankings for multiple different categories. This is a player who I think has been the most consistent. This is one of my favorite players to watch throughout this tournament as well. KDA of 1.8, he's #1 in multiple categories as well, and I think this is the player that everybody needs to watch out for, Roy, because we were saying yesterday, if you want a chance at winning, you're gonna have to eliminate Luxo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's a hot take at this point, but I genuinely believe that this is one of the best, if not the best player in the league right now. He is very consistent. His level of impact statistically is not just high, but his impact on the game, his impact on the wins for his team have been insane. It's been so consistent, and just the level of play that he's at, the level of confidence, considering he's one of the younger players in the tournament, is just, it's madness, guys.
I feel like we could make a championship winning VCT team with a lot of the players that we have in Ascension, with a mix of everything that we're seeing, all of the duelists popping off, the controllers, the IGLs. I mean, the talent is insane to see, and it goes beyond Luxo for this team. It goes further, Emily, because we have Rod as well that has been doing so good, and it's maybe one of the players that we haven't had the chance to talk about too much.
Yeah, Rude is one that we haven't had the opportunity to talk about, and so that's why I kind of want to talk about him right now, because he played very well yesterday, particularly in the game versus 2G, which was their regional opponents, played both Omen and Killjoy, and Rude just stepped up to the plate yesterday for me, came in with a KDA of 2, and just came in clutch for his team. I saw that he was getting multiple kills of just with his molly placements, which I thought was really cool. He really thought outside of the box, but maybe it's because he knew his opponents. It was his regional opponents he was playing against. But either way, this is a player yesterday that shined that we haven't seen shine so far throughout the tournament. So I'm really happy for Rude, and hopefully he takes that on momentum today.
It seems like GLRS, they were just waiting for the moment, waiting for that chance. And it was just perfect because they were going against a team that they knew so well on 2-game. They were able to take them down. And now it seems like, as Sato was saying in that interview, they're able to learn from that, learn from also their previous matches, the first ones that didn't really go their way, Roy, to now move forward and face this RETA. But let's talk about this RETA squad because they're also very good. We've seen, honestly, a little bit of inconsistency coming through for them. But when it came to the real test yesterday, of are they going to win once again against All Knights, they were able to do so, and they were able to look even better than we saw before.
Yeah, I mean, I think their growth throughout this tournament has been pretty much unquestionable, to be honest. They've definitely shown improvement from game to game. Their opening matches were not the best, but ever since then, they've had a pretty solid performance. Even in their losses, they have been relatively close. So I think the growth is definitely unquestionable. But I also do want to talk about the fact that the three players that have really stepped up throughout this tournament, and these are players that we highlighted, and this is what we were expecting for them, was that Nagzet, Day06, and Soother. All three of these players, obviously Snowzine is also in the conversation, but specifically these three players that are on the supportive roles have been stepping up in their last few matches, and because of that fact, they've been getting results.
Yeah, you mentioned 3 players, and I feel like this is a team where all of the players shine. It's an equal value. It's not one star player to me. But their attack side yesterday was fun to watch because they are strong in their map control. That's what I noticed. And maybe it's the support players that you said that really assist in being successful for that. But they're a team that forces the map control, that forces pressure, and I think that's what really works for them. Nags that we have on the screen, man, this is a player that just comes in clutch. If this person's last alive, you know that they're gonna be the person that takes the win for them. And I don't know, I just think that going +12 on Killjoy is not easy, Dryad.
It's insane what Nexed has been doing, and honestly, I feel like ever since he left and he got dropped from crew, he's been having this learning and training arc that we see getting the results now. I mean, he's going crazy. We saw one of the stats of the impact that he's having on this Killjoy, and it's completely unmatched, Roy, to what everybody else is doing on this agent. An agent that you always think, oh, it's playing back. Yeah, it has a great impact, but it's not something that you're always going to see being too flashy. But for Nexed, oh, it has been flashy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the style of mastery, right? Is the fact that you can balance both styles. You can be that passive anchor, you can be the passive information that your team needs, but whenever your team also needs a risk, whenever we're down, whenever, you know, we're getting pressure on the map, you are willing to take things into your own hands. And I think that is the charm of RETA. That is their superpowers. They have so many players that are experienced in so many different parts of the map that they always have some kind of flow on the macro side. So they're always able to control, and that's why they look so strong in the mid rounding, is because they have all these players that are experienced and are vocal, that can take over the round at any given time.
Well, let's talk about the other Chilean on this team, and that is Suther. He is also been one of the difference makers on this side of RETA, and in a very different way. But I feel like it's still in our minds the 2 clutches that he got on that map of, it was Lotus, where he was going insane, closing out the pistol, securing the rounds when they were phasing M80, and that is something that not anybody can do, especially when you are phasing M80, that team that continues to be undefeated. So I'm elite. I think it's great to see this guy shine too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. 2.5 KDA on a Viper? That is rare to see, is it not? That's crazy. It's insane. And he's also been consistent throughout the whole groups. And I think one thing about Suther is his timing as a lurk on Viper. This is a chef's kiss in my opinion, because he finds those crucial picks when situations are looking grim. And he's able to get multiple kills too, which I think really amplifies his KDA here. But either way, you can trust in Suther to get that lurk in.
Yeah, and another thing that you don't really see on the screen right here is his clutch percentages, which are also really good. I mean, in their match versus M80, this was one of the players that made them look like absolute amateurs. This guy was closing against some of the best closers in the league and making it look so easy and so consistent. Yes. So, I mean, the fact that they have this player who is young, putting up numbers, finding timings, and clutching, like, that has to be a very valuable asset to the team.
It's nice to have. It's nice to have this team that seems to be very complete in every single way, with experience, with clutchers, with the initiators, and everybody else starting those rounds on the duelist roles we've seen for his nose in. But let's jump into the Zippo map select. Let's find out where we're going to be headed for today on a match that matters more than ever. The teams had to think about this one a lot, Roy, and let's find out where we're going to be headed. First map, Ascent. Yesterday we were saying yesterday was the first day that we saw Ascent so far, and now we get to see it 2 times.
Yeah, I mean, that is the cookie cutter map of VALORANT. It is the most vanilla. It is the most basic flavor. Everyone's very well versed on this map. There hasn't really been that crazy of developments, and even the development that has happened, which is the deadlock composition, we're not really seeing it that much in this tournament. So I think we're going to expect some just tame, good old VALORANT, and it's going to come down to fundamentals and just good mid rounding.
Are you surprised by this? Were you expecting this, Emily? The Ascend bind, and for the last one, the decider of Icebox?
No, actually, at the beginning of the day, I was kind of predicting, what maps are they going to pick and ban? And I put Ascent as one of the ones for them to pick because, like Roy was just saying, we saw them play it yesterday for the first time. And this kind of really showcased their ability to adapt in mid-round. And I think that's where they shine. They're a team that's going to run down the clock and keep you guessing, and Ascent was a really good map pick.
And it will always go back to the duelist head-to-head that we've talked about, and we got to see the players talk about each other just a little bit for Sato and Snowsin, how they're going to play on Ascent. I mean, Sato was giving a lot of respect to Snowsin's operator, Roy, so I think that's going to be crucial on this map of Ascent, and even that last decider of Icebox that I feel like we could go to.
Yeah, I mean, before we talk about Icebox, I do want to mention the fact that GLRS has not shown this map in this tournament so far. So yeah, they might run a tame composition, but maybe their approach, maybe their style is still kind of an unknown factor, which plays a little bit into the Brazilian hands here. But to touch just to touch on the op thing, I think the Ascent has been historically a map that has been dominated by the jet operas, right? There's just so many nooks and crannies that they can play in, so many off angles, and just so many ways to find timings and get set up on angles. I think that's definitely going to be a factor in this map.
Well, we talked about Ascend, we talked about Icebox as well, and the way that those play out. Emily, what about this map of Bind? Because it is actually pretty different compared to the first and the third one. So I don't know how it can play out in the cat too.
He always wants to say in this show, "You're not getting paid. Get out of here."
Bind as a second map, to me, that's telling me that GLRS has a game plan of being aggressive. This is a team that I think shines when they're trying to overwhelm, and so RETA has a really good idea of how they want to take an area. So for Bind, this is going to disrupt their game plan. So I think it's going to really matter what they decide to do early on and how they can get the pace rolling for them, because they're going to need the momentum. But Bind is a good pick for them. I think we could go all three maps. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, honestly, I thought about that's how it was going to go yesterday for a lot of these teams. And the only map 3 that we saw was the M80 TSM. The other ones, I was like, wait, this is not right. It should have gone to a third map. But I mean, the favorite teams were winning those favorite matches. So Roy, do we think is he gonna go to a third map?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to remind us, these are the #1 seeds of their regions, right? So I would definitely expect, I would not be surprised if we saw a third map. I think even if we don't see a third map, I think all the maps will be extremely close. Again, I do want to reiterate the fact that these teams are probably the most stylistically similar teams. They set up very specific players. They have very clutch support players. They have very clutch sentinel players. The way they play, their pacing, their tempo, it's all very similar. And even their compositions are very similar as well.
Another reason why I think it's going to go all three maps is because we heard in the interview beforehand of RETA saying that they think that this is going to be one of the hardest matchups of the entire groups for them. Agreed. Because this is, reminder, go hard or go home style match. So it's going to be a head-to-head battle of your spot for the playoff.
I'm not even gonna bring the cat out at him. He just wants to analyze. He just wants to analyze, and Roy doesn't let him. That's so crazy. Rude. He has things to say about RETA and GLRS too. Come on.
Yeah, he does not stop stalking, let me tell you guys. But no, again, I do want to talk about Ascent. Let's go back to Ascent, okay? Because again, there is a level of RETA just played this map. We kind of have an idea of how they're approaching it, but now GLRS has their kind of the element of surprise on this first map. Which, to be honest, a part of me is surprised that RETA would pick this map at first, especially when they're not going to be getting the defense side on it. So I think there's going to be a lot of battling happening on this first map, and if they're going to need some kind of strong start to get that confidence rolling going into the second side.
Well, it seems like it's time to see the teams walk onto the stage one last time in the group stage, and maybe one last time for one of them. Who knows? But it's a match that is very intense between the two. Both of them saying that they need to play with everything they have, the improvements and the growth that they've had. This is the time to show it. This is the time to show that it's not only one good match, it's one good tournament that you're going to have and make it all the way till the end. But before we get started, just a reminder for everybody, there's going to be a giveaway on the side of Blacklight. They're giving away the ultimate gaming chair, so you can scan the QR code or check that message that's pinned in the chat to find out how you can get one of those chairs. And now, as we go back into the conversation, I want to get a little more specific on this map of Ascent. And Emily, something that Sato was saying is that Snowzen's operator is really good, and Ascent, we're more than likely going to be seeing that operator. How do you deal around an operator that is so good as Sato is praising Snowzen to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. What I would call as an in-game leader is just really, you're gonna have to burn a lot of util. Honestly, you're gonna have to get them out of those typical op angles, in my opinion. And yesterday, watching them too, there wasn't really a lot of mid control. There wasn't a lot of mid presence at all, both on defense and attacking side. So this might be something that they change up today, because if the opponents were watching them yesterday, they might think that's a weakness. So, you know, it's all about mind games here. So definitely burning util, Roy, I think, is the best way to get rid of the opera angles.
Yeah, and definitely agree, but I do want to talk about the fact that All Knights did not really push RETA to the limit on this map. They really were not mid-routing to the usual level that they do. And I think a lot of the issues that might be apparent, or like our RETA strengths that might be apparent to us, were probably not as strong as we think because they weren't pushed in the right way, especially on the attacking side by All Knights. So I think GLRS, they have not shown that weakness. They've shown very strong mid-rounding. They've shown very strong openers as well. And I think they're going to be pushing RETA a little bit better than All Knights did yesterday on this map.
Okay, it is actually time this time that we get to see the players walk onto the stage. For GLRS, they need to win this match. It's a now or never situation for them. They need to get at least that second win, and then they're going to depend on the results for everybody else. Now, on the side of RETA, it's a little different. They win this match, they're in 100% on playoffs. They're going to get one of the 4 spots for playoffs. But if they lose, they're still not out of the tournament. They're going to depend on the results of everybody else, just like GLRS winning this. So there's a couple things here. None of them are in or out just yet, and it's going to depend on what they're going to be able to do today, Roy.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the do or die for GLRS. They're really going to have to step up. They do not want regrets. That is the worst feeling as a competitor. Lay it all on the table. If you lose, you lose. But if at least you played your hearts out, and that's all we can do. Huddles for the vibes, comms for the vibes. And that is also, I think one thing I love about RETA as well is Snowzin's always smiling, whether they're losing, whether the situation is looking dire. It's all smiles on that team's side. So I think that's great as well.
You can tell how much it matters for them to get these wins and to make it to playoffs as well, to make it a little bit closer to their dream of making it to VCT, to playing in Americas next year, Emily. And they're very close to doing so, just a few matches away, but they need to take it match by match and round by round specifically today.
Oh yeah, it takes so much out of every person that's here playing in this tournament. You have to sacrifice so much with your friends and family and just really live and breathe Valorant. And we just heard them chanting, and I love that because that just kind of, you know, intimidates your opponents. But now we have the agent select.
This is fun. This is fun. Roy, you were talking about this. You talked about, we haven't seen a deadlock on this map, although it's been a meta that we've seen more and more internationally. Well, guess what? GLRS is running it.
Yeah, and they're starting with the defense side as well. So this is going to be super interesting. I think GLRS is, I mean, they're coming in with a good game plan. They have the double Senti on the defense side of Ascent. I think if RETA has not experienced this in the server, or if they have not had, you know, previous experiences dealing with this composition, I think they might struggle a lot on their attack side.
How hard is it gonna be though? On the side of RETA, you want to play your own game, but this deadlock, sometimes, Emily, it just does not let you play your own game.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with Roy. If they haven't had too many reps versus a deadlock, then they're gonna unfortunately struggle here. This is gonna be a very interesting match.
I'm excited with this composition that GLRS is pulling up on the map of Ascent, and RETA going with that standard that has been one where they found success with in the past. Let's find out who gets a win of this map number 1 with their casters is Shift and Vance.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one here. And I think the thing is, you know, we weren't really sure what to expect. You know, last time that GLRS did play this map, they did run this composition. That was after a long stretch of running what has been the only composition we often see in this map, fans. And it was a mixed bag of results. A lot of the losses were close, like 13-10s, 13-11s. But, you know, switching to the deadlock provided them success in the first time they tried it, but that was 2 months ago.
That's right, and that means it's not unfamiliar territory here for RETA. And again, as Dendry was mentioning before, in North America, this is pretty much coined by their Turtle Truth / Dead Zone.
Sure.
That started things off, and then everybody was starting to study this because it looks so dominant. But we'll talk about that in a bit. There's already early aggression happening towards middle as GLRS, despite playing double Senti, they want to fight for heavy mid control.
Yeah, this is interesting to say the least. And let's be honest, when we were watching this Gals team play earlier, they do love to try to get aggressive in weird ways. So we're already seeing GLRS try to do that immediately. But not a lot of contest here. RETA just going to hold off just a touch, seeing that there would be a battle at mid if they want it. And instead, after that recon dart had kind of expired, they're going to take their focus back over towards A, where the barrier mesh has already expired.
And that's what makes sense. You place that wall on that side, super strong in the pistol round. You converge towards the middle because you have an active camera from Rude watching B main. So RETA did a great job. One of the key points you want to do here, playing against a deadlock off, is identify the wall if it's coming out right away. Yep. If it is, you can just wait it out, explode back into a site where you're seeing it now. Urango's solo on A.
Yeah, good knife also coming through means that there is no opportunity for Urango to hold on for too much. Luke Show, just as the door starts to close, a couple of taps going through, but none of them connecting for damage. So that's enough for Suther to get on. Find himself the plant. Owl Drone scouting out that, yep, RETA are fully here. Paranoia at the ready. That will connect. That should be the go call. It just comes down to can they actually get through at the same time, because there's a lot of smoke on top of the site, and RETA are really doing a nice job of controlling all the area denied. Just down to Evil for the last. And well, he's gotten at least entry back on towards site. The problem is there are still 3 RETA members in hell, and it's not looking all that positive for this Crossfire setup. Rude able to get one, but yeah, nothing more beyond that. The Crossfire too strong, Vance.
And it's a great start. At least I said that it was huge here for GLRS because they had a set plan, already invested it into a Paranoia. You still had the grab net available too, where when you look at the aspect of it on the pistol round, it looked like it was going to be all right. Well, Urango was going to get flooded, but he wanted to give up the site so that he could actually go for a trap play, recon dart along with the Paranoia, hoping to trap some players, net some players, and then flood back in. And it seems as though in the post plan, though, RETA identified that already and played outside of those areas and really focused down towards that double stack towards Hell, the crossfire from main, because Nagzed's watching that flank. And it was just good positioning in the post plan.
Also, something learned about that barrier mesh getting thrown early. You see now all of a sudden with weapon advantage, RETA trying to move very aggressively in towards A without even worrying about any of the utility that could be placed later on. Knife is also going to impede this defense just a touch as Nags, just by himself, gets aggressive through tree. That's going to get punished, so it's just a pistol upgrade, but that's enough information for RETA to say we're fine with the 4v4. Let's back up and see if we can find success somewhere else.
Exactly, and Nagzed walking in alone with a ghost. That's understandable, right? The Knife already spotted 2 players towards the A side. He got 1 pick towards tree, so they know the stack was there towards the A site. And the grab net gets thrown, the barrier mesh gets thrown right away, as you can see, towards the B main, as soon as the call was there for GLRS that the rotate came out from the A site. But a lot of time has already been passed. This barrier mesh is going to be a lot weaker, and it's going to be easier here for RETA to break this open and just go through. So you'll do the audio cue, bring that orb up for Suther, and just explode in the site where there's actually still a cypher trips available.
Oh, the timing of Urango nearly catches this entire offense on the cross over towards the backside of Sidewalk, but not going to turn out. And again, you wouldn't have expected too much action to unfold in favor of the defense when you're just dealing with a couple of classics. So,
and exactly that. So far, so good for RETA. I mean, they didn't look like they were challenged in the post plan, neither on their entry and neither on the gamble stack that GLRS started at the very beginning that was read quite correctly by the defensive side. And that's something here that I agree that what Roy was mentioning on the desk, RETA, when they played against All Night yesterday on Ascent, they weren't challenged as much. There was like, we talked about Ascent being a map where you have to burn a lot of utility, and all that All Nights were doing was burning the clock without really breaking the utility over on RETA on the defense. And that means that you didn't have a chance to really see RETA play on the attack too much because of that result, because RETA was just dominating on their side on defense. So this is still a great call for this team now of LATAM to take Ascent to their side, because there's still that ace under the sleeve that shows that they haven't showed their correct play style on the attack side of Ascent yet that now GLRS has to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's a really strong point. And it's one of those situations that, again, it's just a random happenstance of how the recent results have kind of come through. But yeah, I think it is important to note that there are some hidden gems here in terms of what we might be able to see. The other side of things, talking about this GLRS squad is, when we saw them play over the last couple of days, they really resort on Sato and Luxo playing well. If they don't have good games, this team really falters. So that's another part of it. Barrier mesh down, Shock Dart chunking a lot of this offense over towards the front side at B. Grab net also into play. I think it's a little bit deep, though. It does hold off a couple of members, plus the reveal is good. Sato turns that into a free first blood.
Great start. Trades are coming through as well, and Evil King is going to be flooded towards that back. 3 pairs though coming through. It's going to be difficult.
Wow.
Manages to at least get 1.
Yeah, 1 is incredible for him. Again, this is just a bonus, but it was a formidable bonus at that for RETA. So Luxo, Sato, all able to clean things up. And again, that's the power of Deadlock. You just read where it's coming from. The barrier mesh is down. The Shock Dart hits for some good chunkage. Then all of a sudden you got the grab that gets placed behind it, splits up the offense. Easy pickings from there.
And they had the right numbers towards that site on that B site to do the trap play. Very similar to how they were trying to activate on a retake towards the A site. Instead of flooding now, you have the right numbers, so now you could slow players down when you do have Urango at the right spot here, as is Deadlock, to really not give a chance for players to get through past the dash that Snowzine's trying to do for RETA to gain space towards this B site. So very nice start, at least on the gun round to GLRS to make it clean. And RETA, though, you mentioned it, it was a bonus round that they had. They're going to have a very strong buy. And because of the previous rounds that they focused so much on Suther, on the amount of kills, assists, and plants that he's getting, and orbs, they have an ult command to work with.
Yes. Could be massive in terms of shutting down the potential of that deadlock. But look at the positioning. GLRS are just not holding by any of the front doors. They're going to put a sensor on really both the main entryways to both the sites. Barrier mesh at B will fade, but the deadlock's going to stay alive through this. And you got to keep in mind that grab net can be thrown over the top of these walls pretty easily. So there is the opportunity to still assist, even if the goal command does get popped over towards A. Opening spam shots do land for half the health of Sato, and he's forced into the action. Not a great opening start here for the GLRS defense, including the follow-up from Nags at mid-map.
Very easily done by RETA. They just decided to go for that push, but Nagset called that wall coming down and didn't see any type of utility through. There was no pressure coming across, and it's going to stay quiet. They know now that GLRS are trying to play turtled up within that site. So RETA came in with that utility that they're good with to create that space, and look at Nagset just anchoring it down. Yes, he gets picked off, but that's good enough. He's like, oh, these guys are falling back just to try to save their weapons because, unfortunately, going into giving too much space for RETA to work with, you're now playing into a gamble of hoping your anchor players, being one or two players, hoping to get like 2 or 3 to make the comeback possible and the retake possible. You see the end result though. RETA, easy pickings, easy take, and now the last 2 players of Rude and Narango, they have no choice but to save.
And the other part about that is, again, because they were able to isolate so quickly on Sato, null command never gets spent, so you still have that. Possibly, again, just to kind of keep this play from Narango deeper in towards the middle of the map, if not behind the sites. Important to note, you know, again, we talked about the fact that GLRS has played this composition once. They did it versus the 7 in their regional grand finals. Important to note there that Narango was 10-4 on defense, but 9-8 on attack. So, you know, again, just kind of showing the effectiveness of this agent in particular. This is, again, GLRS looking at it saying, we need to come across with 7 rounds on defense to feel good about this composition overall.
Yeah, agreed. When you're looking at the deadlock in your composition, a lot of fans and people who watch this game will also consider deadlock being very good into your attack hits, because she could actually really block the line of not only sites, but line of control and blocking lanes for players to prevent them from flipping back within the site. But what's important here is when you're playing a defensive side, you would think that, okay, you're playing 2 sentis, so you can just anchor up all the time, but it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
And you can already see when they started things off here at the beginning of this round, if you paid attention to that radar, is once that wall gets placed towards B main and Narango kind of like rotates over to help out towards the A side, when that barrier mesh is about to drop, it's actually Evil Kick that rotated over towards that B side so that they could use Silva utility to try to get timings on Recon Darts or Owl Drone at the minute mark. The reason why he hasn't used any of that to try to confirm that there was nobody lurking or trying to hit towards that B site is because he still had an active Cypher camera right in the middle of Pizza that could kind of really see like into the dash, the audio cues. And again, you're trying to just react on information that you're going to get a little bit more passively than you could when you're going to try to activate a little bit more of that Silva. So Evil Kick, I think at this point, after this timeout, will have to have that responsibility to really try to pinpoint where the defaulting is happening for RETA, because you know the playstyle is going to be very slow when you're playing the attack side against 2 sentis.
Yeah, again, and that's the thing about it is you have to get the intel, or you just deny it immediately to make sure there's no abilities that can be spent. To say this is an interesting call here. Null command was immediately popped, but you can see obviously this is just a fake. I thought for maybe a second Snow was going to try to dive in to try to force the defense to rotate over, but the longer this doesn't occur, the more that GLRS is going to sit here and say, oh, okay, we're chilling. We can just hang out and see if we can maybe hit a couple of long shots with these sheriffs.
Yeah, and then grab net just got thrown too, so that's actually just for I'm going to say, hey, we're potentially stacking within this site and then moving towards A. So they did play an anti-KO setup. Those 2 sonic sensors, the 2 trips are actually towards the A site. So they're hoping here that they delayed enough and prevented RETA from getting too much map control to really get into this trap of all this utility being trapped by the Sentinels towards the A site. But GLRS once again pivoting all the way back, even from spawn back to B. And what do you really do at this point?
Yeah,
hoping you get a good timing off a knife.
Well, Luke Show. Oh, I was about to say he's trying to put himself into position to maybe catch someone off guard, but instead gets caught with a dark cover out. That was really the only win condition there, is to find an opening pick and slow this down from the front doors, because Durango is empty from utility. But these shock darts, oh my, the defensive presence from Evil Kick has been great. Even though there is at least some sort of entryway in towards the site, these health pools are more than, I think, achievable to start tallying some eliminations.
But they lost Luxo, and that's a key piece to retake. There's no more flashes. You have to be on point with the 2 rifles that you saved in that previous round for Durango and for Rude.
Well, here we go. Here comes the next retake. Recon Bolt gets them over towards the front side at the lever. Now it's time to, can you hit the shot? Durango good for the opener. Wait a second. RETA inside the site has been separated. Delzik does well to catch a couple, but now it's just down to Muriz, and he is outside the play. And do they expect it? Well, now they will. Recon Bolt comes through. Spamming on towards the spike, but it's not in a great spot. And how about Rude saves the day? And that is a massive round for GLRS, considering that they had really not done much in terms of stopping the hit initially. A brilliant follow-up, though, recontested the site.
And at the same time, again, they didn't have that utility to try to flood retake. It came down to aim battles and to making sure that going into the fundamentals of just tactical FPS, a buddy system, trying to bait out the ones with the lesser weaponry, your dash that comes in from the jet to create that space, to break crosshair placement, to give a chance for Urango to even sneak in for that 3rd kill inside that B site so that they could actually play the 2v1 towards the end. Maurice really couldn't help at all. He was stuck at 10 HP for most of that hit. And that's a great start, and a great look, rather, for GLRS, where, you know, you're playing backs against the wall. You're trying to play a composition that's trying to stall a lot. But when it comes down to, oh, we've lost this site, and we may have lost a great amount of utility on these retakes, at the forefront, they do have the firing power to be able to make this happen still. So what I like about this is, you know, we looked at into the interview yesterday as well that Snow was talking about GLRS, that if they lost that game, they were going to play a little bit more loose potentially because they have nothing to lose and they would be a scary team. But they did win their game yesterday for GLRS.
Sure.
They're still in a race in contention to make it to playoffs. But their play style that we're currently seeing so far from GLRS still looks very loose. They're not really playing into what looks to be a little bit miscommunicated or falterings rather under the pressure. They're playing some very clean Valorant on the defensive side and very well under reaction. Now they just have to add that extra layer of trying to find that information a little bit more proactively on their defensive side too.
Okay. Well, hopefully we don't have to deal with too many of these because the action's starting to heat up, and I just want to keep seeing the chess game unfold. That's the biggest part about this. Because now we're starting to see, like, again, I think just an executable, you know, kind of evaluating how RETA have looked from the offense. They've done well, you know, to try to put a little bit of a stress on the GLRS. I think there have been mostly a couple of the rounds that have been decided by individual misses or hits, and I think the most recent round is the hits that we started to see. But, you know, is there going to be enough with the null command now out of the picture for a little bit to assert that there is enough offensive pressure to put maybe a little bit more mixiness in towards this deadlock? You know, can we force that grab net out earlier than they maybe want to? There's a lot, I think, options in terms of how you can pull that, you know, again, trying to full fakes and maybe just dive in one player instead of the other. But it's really tough to kind of, I think, get an evaluation because if you don't go to the deadlock direction, you still have to deal with a Cypher who can set up very passively. Well, so it's just like, you know, there's a lot of different defensive variabilities, I would say, just because you're running double sentinel like this.
There you go, chat. Just hit the replay button on that one so you can flip the setup for the Cypher on the B side. But this is what's missing. It's placing both drifts on the B side. We'll talk about it a little bit later. We're being very proactive for that to try to hit towards that B side. But there is some sort of weakness that can maybe exploit here for GLRS.
Well, the thing about this is with Snow getting into the site, I was going to say it puts a lot of pressure and really eliminates the deadlock's presence, at least initially, but the spy cam is still up, and GLRS is going to get a really good look at this. The Annihilation is also going to connect. That's on the suit there. He does get taken out of the cocoon, but the grab net follows up, and that's enough for Urango now to make his move down the stairs, but only finds the first, but Sato, quick scope good, back and forth, pinstripe kill feed, 3v2 situation. Suther's still stuck on the site, and yep, that's all that Sato needs, is to eventually find the timing, and Muriz, who again is the last one in, will also be the last one alive.
And this is where it's going to get dangerous because Sato already activated an operator. At least for RETA's side, they know that there's an op that's activated, and they can try to work that a little bit more into how they want to read that map. But GLRS is so far from their setups, and now you can see the trip finally being placed towards middle as they realized there was no more pressure coming back here on this B site. But Rude has been placing a lot of double trips to anchor up and support
30 seconds
extremities on sites. What's really holding the middle right now and giving information for GLRS in the past few rounds until this one right here was just a camera that was being set by Rude.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Now that you have Sato with the op, you were able to place continue to place double trips and set sonic sensors on extremities because now you have an op that can take control of middle. And that's unfortunately something that hasn't been exploited on RETA's camp, right? On RETA for the last few rounds, they've been playing as what I was criticizing all nights we were doing. They were rotating all the way back towards spawn and just stop and go and trying to use null commands and knives to disable the Sentinel utilities so they could flood within the site. But they're not doing enough in terms of trying to prod early in this game to see what the setup could be towards middle to find those exploits that they could potentially take. There's a lot of pressure they could do off these mid to B splits or catwalk to A hits, but they've only done that on the anti-eco when they had Nags run alone with Ghost on tree while the rest of them were 4-man hitting on that A side. So yeah. It's still early in Valorant right now, though. There's still 6 rounds only played so far in the first half, but that's maybe something that has to start being activated a little bit more here by RETA.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good call. And ooh, Orb will get queued up, but that's enough for Evil just to say, okay, Hunter's Fury, you're not going to get any of that, and Delzik will fall in the first 2 bursts of the Hunter's Fury, and that pretty much puts this round a bit out of question. Blades are still involved, so maybe a chance, but no, Evil Kick right there with it. All the power weapons right here inside a tree. And I was about to say, you know, I had kind of agreed, why are we not sitting and trying to put a little bit more pressure over towards tree? But now that the op is in play, plus, of course, the Deadlock is holding on to utility, it just feels like tree is not an option when Deadlock's alive.
Or any type of presence towards middle, right? You never went for like a knife or a recon dart to scan the early rounds of the basic first step of trying to take mid control or at least some control of the sites. They're doing it towards the extremities, fair. But at that point, when GLRS have realized that RETA hasn't really been adding that pressure towards middle, look at how aggressive Sato was watching the link. Look how freely Evil Kick could stand out on a catwalk to do a full line of a Hunter's Fury right into the A site, combined with the grab net from Morongo towards that side. So it was a trap play all along that was very well done by GLRS. It almost looks the opposite way, where RETA looks a little bit afraid to really try to fight for their tournament lives here against GLRS. A win for them would secure them a spot going into playoffs.
A loss would make, again, a multi-team 2-3 setup in the group stage, possibly start to come through for tiebreaker situations. So, again, lots on the line here. Sato taken down. Should be fine to collect the operator, though, and just carry it into the next round as GLRS all of a sudden really coming to life here defensively. And the other part about this here, Vanson, you know, you talk a lot about the efficiency and the effectiveness that Evil Kick has. He doesn't have to use anything until there's a threat established somewhere thanks to the Sentinels. Now, of course, he starts this round off with a brilliant Hunter's Fury, just calls that basically orb pickup, but when you've got the ability to pivot around both these 2 Sentinels, it makes the Owl Drone that much nastier. It allows him to hit shock darts with more confidence that he's going to actually chip some damage away. And then, of course, beyond that, the recon dart is really one of those spots that, because everyone's focused on all the other standing utility between the Cypher and the Deadlock, sometimes you just forget about the recon bolt. He's gotten a nice couple of reveals already.
Yeah, and now already, as we mentioned before, something that he hasn't been using in the early rounds, and now he's doing it here with the recon dart on Link. So realizing here that B-Link is open, giving a chance now for Sash to really set up. So you're talking about the support system around your star player as well. Luke Show really hasn't been tested at all, where we know how consistent he has been throughout this whole tournament and how good he's been. But so far, it's really been around just the Rango play on this Deadlock on the defensive side, and also this time Evil Kick with that combination of Rango that's adding a lot of these rounds for GLRS and making it difficult for RETA to work. And you're looking in round number 8. What do we have? A 5-player stack up towards this B site. And potentially here, we're just waiting for a knife to come back so they can maybe just get it thrown in and hopefully disable some utility.
Oh, good nanostorm toss deep. That's going to hit the angle. A little bit more clear. Hunter's Fury also heading on over towards Rude's direction. He's dancing with the devil and just stay alive. Now the hit, moving in from the front. Evil Kick lost his angle, so now he's just hoping and praying he can find some sort of a spam. And what a shot from Sato! Snozen comes in completely uncovered. You thought maybe he had a freebie. Not the case. So now the spike gets planted. RETA still trying to hold on with a little bit of a post-plant success rate over towards the backside of the boathouse, but that's not going to work out. And now you've got the opportunity for Sato to dive in with knives. There's still a Paranoia. Dark cover is going to get placed first, and as soon as they clear out main, expect this Paranoia to rip apart the site.
Stealing sight.
Or the Odin.
Or that. Reveal also on the backside of the site, and again, ooh, not the nicest shots from Sato with the knives, but it doesn't make a difference. I mean, just the clearance of space for GLRS defensively has been so good on these retakes, which I won't say is surprising. It's just not what you would normally expect considering the double Sentinel comp they're putting together.
We got him hyped up right now over here on the GLRS side for sure, and they're definitely feeling the groove and finding the vibes of how good they've been on just A to Z. Maybe it looked like it wasn't that great from the pistol round just because it's a trap play that they were trying to do towards Milda was unfortunately not the correct read, where they lost that pistol and the eco in their round for GLRS. But ever since that, the post-plant success rate for the retakes for GLRS have been pretty much 100% since that pistol round loss. So they're looking really good here on just trying to fight back against RETA, who's trying to find different avenues, right? Maurice was so many times was playing outside of B main. This time tries to play towards the logs, but just outside of shot darts, mollies, radius, so he can try to get some value. But his gun's sticking out, he gets wall banged, and the rest is just history. GLRS just continues to flood very, very well. I do like, at least though, from GLRS' side, is that they, despite them looking to still group up as a 5-man hit towards the B main, they got met up by a lot of utility. You saw the nanostorms. There was a grav net that was the barrier mesh that was thrown at the same time. You had the trap being played towards the back with that trip that was being set up so they could actually get some trap kills through the drops. But at least it was a little bit of answer coming back here from RETA to really break the utility and really not give a chance for GLRS to get inside that site while the utility was being expended by the Sentinels, by the Sentinel players rather, and it gives them a chance to fight a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing, you know, again, just kind of taking all of the individual round-to-round breakdown, you got to keep in mind that in the macro sense of things, RETA, I think if you get 5, you're happy with it in terms of how this side would go. So they're still on par in terms of putting together a substantial offense, pardon me. So this time, it's going to be a quick one.
Yeah, definitely, and then we'll see what's going to happen on this 5-on-5 retake, though. There's great positioning still from RETA. All in play inside that set.
The paranoia does not hit any of this play through hell, though. That's the issue. So Urango gets onto site, finds a couple, but whoa, Luke Show and Rude starts to put together a maybe heroic play here. No command was popped, so Suther is still in play technically, but he's being spammed out. And Muris, once again, last one left, is not going to be able to deal with just the amount of overwhelming pressure that GLRS put together. And I think in a certain regard, I don't think RETA are expecting that the retake was going to come so suddenly, considering how fast they approached this A site.
And the amount of damage that Day06 is able to get at that range with a shorty. I wish my shorty was doing that damage at that length in my ranked games. But you bring up a great point into, yes, it looks like it's very one-sided for GLRS ever since they had their economy right. And you see that they are laughing. Sato is like, this is way too easy for us right now on the defense. But to look back, despite, again, a double Sentinel composition for this team on the attack for RETA, it's still a very good composition if they're able to really explode within that site. We'll have to see for RETA if they have a game plan to play against GLRS' setup on that double Sentinel on the attack. But this should be for GLRS to really try to get more rounds here.
No, for real.
With this double Sentinel comp.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, there's been an answer for just about everything outside of the pistol here for GLRS. Mid has not really been a threat at all either, which I think, again, just also plays right into the hands of this defensive setup, especially with things like an Operator and an Odin on hand. It just, man, you just don't want to go through these choke points with both those weapons in play.
To start things off, you see that RETA is trying to insert Nagzed right into the B main, hoping to work and pick up an orb, and he was buddy system with Maurice, so it works out. Now they have the drone, so now we have the clear. Some default Ascent being played. They finally break the util, realizing that it's a camera and not going to be a drip.
Yeah.
And there we go. So right now, there's 45 seconds left. The wall already got instantly thrown. They know now that the deadlock is more towards the middle. There's not too much utility happening towards the A site, and now they're able to go for a split.
Good cage down from Rude, just has to spam through it. A couple of sound cues also coming through. Sato has to have his head on a swivel here, though. Oh, what a brilliant first shot. Does he get the second? Just a little bit off, dashes away to safety. Day06 trying to keep the play alive, but it's getting messy here for RETA. Annihilation also spec, doesn't make a difference if it hits or not, because Sato is connecting with the Operator. 7-3 the count, and again, the economy starts to become more broken for RETA's offense.
Yeah, and it was not too bad. Despite them losing that round for the attack side of RETA, I still like how they worked around that map. They did what they needed to do. They went back for a catwalk split on a 4-1 this time around, focusing more towards tree. And I like that it's actually the Omen that stays here towards that A main because he could still set up these smokes for the team. He still has a paranoia set up here to try to cross over towards the generator side, the splash, so they could actually flood it within that site. But Sata was playing out in the open, just behind Dice, an easy pick, and really didn't give a chance right now for RETA to really cross over towards that line, especially when he hits 2 shots like that with the operator. So that's going to put RETA into an eco, but you did see them try to prod the information very early within this round. A knife was already being thrown here to get information on middle. They had that recon dart coming out, trying to prod information also towards middle and catwalk. They realize here there's no pressure coming through, and they have a lower buy. They seem a little bit too further extended. That's the second time that they walked through here, Shift, into middle, and they haven't crossed over a trip.
Yeah, this is
like, it's 10 rounds later, but 11 rounds later, but at least it's a start, you know?
And here's the issue, is that, yeah, it's finding success in this round, but hey, look at the weaponry. It's just not what you want in terms of actually breaking this open. And ooh, are they actually going to make a play through glass? They sure seem to want to. Sato, not sure if that was a blind shot through smoke or not. Regardless, it hits. Odin also ready to go. Spike now down inside of glass. Oh boy, it just goes from bad to worse, man. And this is the presence of, again, just having the economy be in your favor early. Operator, Odin, no chance to go through middle. No chance to break through these interiors through tree. It just funnels everything right into the waiting arms of Evil and Sato, and they've been teeing up.
Yep. Economy building out quite early. The operator, the Odin, the Sentinels utility that never gets broken on that side. And again, there's finally some sort of life in terms of their working, of how RETA is currently working that map and defaulting around, because we did talk about it, playing against double Senti, they are going to play a little bit more slower, but they were playing too slow without really trying to find information of where GLRS is really having that weakness, right? Because you are playing double Senti, but that means that you have less information that you grab by having one less initiator in that default call that you usually run.
You should run.
And that's going to be that chaos. You're missing a knife, you're missing a pop flashes. So that could have abused that a bit more.
Yeah, definitely the case. Oh boy. Oh boy. Lockdown will still stay alive through this, and Evil will be completely detained by it. No chance to save him. And ooh, how about this? Odin from the high ground over towards the front side at market. That'll work out nicely. And it leaves just Rude and Luxio by themselves, trying to find a re-entry way. And with 2 Odins now in play, thanks to the pickup, this becomes very difficult. Miri's first one up. Good for the snap. Almost predicts the second decent transfer, but doesn't work out. It kind of looks like Rude is just trying to grab the body, and yeah, he eventually does. Could give him a chance at this if he can find a spray down through the wall. Suther is really, really low, but doesn't make a difference. All it takes is one headshot to find the Elim. And it's an 8-4 half, so, you know, the pistol plus the follow-up really allows RETA to stay alive in the first half overall. But hey, you kind of stop the bleeding a little bit there in round 12 to make this a manageable half.
100%, but you can definitely see the definition of playing loose and confident here for GLRS. Pretty much gifting that last round over to their opponents as they were trying to go for a flashy play. So getting that lockdown, trying to find the right moment to time a barrier mesh, and then a recon dart to potentially even go for the Odin spray to get some picks. It did actually net 3 players right into B main. But thankfully here for the side of RETA, when they got netted, they stayed behind the box where you can't spam through with the Odin to break the lockdown. You can't spam through the boxes also to get those players that were netted down. So that unfortunately just really tied, literally, Evil Kick in the back of the site as they were detained towards that back, and really allowed here GLRS to, for RETA to move in and play that pulse plan to the success that we just saw here on that 4-1 towards the end. So again, the playing loose, playing confident, and playing very, very, confidently that you're going to make it through the groups, and this is going to be a scary look right now for GLRS as they're going to take the attack side.
Yeah, this is where, again, just kind of repointed in case you're joining us here late. When you saw this composition be played by GLRS, we need to figure out what we're saying. It's been both. It depends on what mood we find ourselves in. Exactly. But you go back to the last time they played this map, again, it was about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, versus the 7 in the grand finals. Defensively, Yorango was incredible, 10-4. was not needed to be a part of first blood engagements. He was 0-2 in them, but still, he stayed alive. He had great assistance across the entirety of the map. When they swapped the sides, though, he was only 9-8, which is still very serviceable. Let's not get it twisted, but the impact is lessened. I think most importantly here is that if you're looking at this from RETA's point of view, you cannot allow post-plant situations to come through with numbers. You have to be contest heavy early, because if the deadlock stays up with the Cypher in a post-plant, good luck. You're not breaking through that.
And so far, they really want to make sure here they're going to try to hold back as much as they could. Already starting with a one-way towards a main. The turret's going to try to get the most active information as it can from its spot on top of the brown boxes to look towards main. Knife also, so you're talking about that. You can't allow GLRS to really get within that site. An early knife went towards B. They really want to try to prod that information early. But it only catches a Cypher towards B. And they're not moving out of that because they're still afraid that for GLRS' side, it's just going to be, oh, let's make it known that he's there. We can bring it towards the B side. But there you go. Now they go hit towards the A side. The barrier might come too. And it's going to be hard now for RETA to go for the retake.
Yeah, this is not going to feel good whatsoever. And that's the thing is, like, we're going to expect that Rude's going to be the last one into these sites on offense. He's going to be lurking the entire time, just trying to put some pressure on the map. And then as soon as he gets over to help the post plant, he could be just about anywhere. Ooh, that barrier mesh did not get over the wall. I saw it on the minimap and I was like, it looks a little off, but you know, I'm not the judge. Not a deadlock, man.
You know, sometimes the tentacles extend and it should still do its job, but not this time around.
Here comes the redash back in. Knows it good for the first. Traded out immediately. Defense working the way in over towards the tree door. And that's not going to work out because down low, Sato and Durango put everything together. They're going to find all 5 between the 2 of them. And the pistol, a massive one, goes the way of GLRS.
You know, when the wall doesn't work out for the deadlock, at least he had the wall of bodies to prevent RETA from really getting back into the site. So many players posted up towards hell, and not enough here to try to flush them out in terms of utility or even bodies to move through to get these trades. And look at that. 3 players already moving right there by Dice, by double hell. They really locked down that area on the post plant end. Great start now for GLRS to get this pistol on their side. Now the economy is flowing through, and for RETA, well, they have no choice. They have to go for a full eco so that they can get the best weaponry as possible going into the anti-bonus that GLRS will bring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not a good start here for RETA. I mean, it's just one of those things, again, you don't want to wade too much into it because, you know, it just is what it is when you play up against a deadlock, especially when you're on the offensive side. But not winning this pistol and likely losing this essentially means that you're playing down 10-4 and you have to start stringing together something formidable off the get-go. Otherwise, this game just turns into, it's done. I mean, if they get to 11 with good operator possibility in Sato, I just don't know how you deal with GLRS with that much of a lead.
Now it comes down to what GLRS is going to do, because there's a great read from RETA to stack towards this B site, and the turret's going to be the first one. Actually, I just think he got recalled, unless he got shot here by Rude. But I think he got recalled so that RETA could not make them think that they're stacking towards this site, and I respect it.
Oh, good reveal coming through. Sato just pushing the issue right down the sidewalk. Holds off just a moment. Knife in play. We'll put a bit of a pause. And now it's just down to Delzik finding timing here behind the play. Because on top of the site, it's not working out all well. But yeah, here comes Delzik. Able to find himself one. Nothing more behind that, though. And Snow, backside in the arches, can really do nothing but watch his friends fall. So 10-4, a couple eliminations. Decent, but with the plant, it's going to be very easy to kind of put yourself back into bonus form, so to speak, looking at this for GLRS.
That's right. It's on a capital W for a round win, but you've done some good econ damage, at least for this stack. And the reason why I wanted to respect if it was a turret that was being recalled is the fact that if you actually drop that turret and they break it, because your forward position of the turret allows for you to give a tell that you probably have players very close that's trying to swing out the turret or trying to set up that crossfire right after. So if he recalls it and they don't, or if they broke it and he didn't recall it and nobody swings out of that, then there might be an indication that the stack was actually happening here towards the B site. So if it actually did recall it for Nagzit, that was actually the smart play to allow this econ damage to happen against GLRS. So a chance to fight, because this is a lower buy that they have now on the bonus. It's not as strong because they had to repurchase into armor, and there's half shields for a lot of them.
The thing about it again, though, is if they can find a way to get a plant, and even more so a first blood, this all of a sudden, again, turns into the power of the abilities. The weapons almost don't matter at this point. Snowzen trying to still lock down this angle, topside at Heaven. Suther nearby. Knife will reveal, looks to just be one. So it doesn't really give too much information, especially with this mid play coming right down through tree. This is going to split the focus completely.
At least it's the initiative that he actually caught. So that's probably a tell that there's a lot of players around that Sova.
And now it's just down to what Suther can find by himself. Will flash out of the cyber stage, has the 1v1 versus Rude, and in the same breath, Snowzen has hit over towards A. Not once, but twice! Annihilation was also in, so Muriz will fall, but that's just really good defensive holds from the two individuals around the A site. Evil Kick gonna give it a go. 1v3 now down to a 1v1. And oh boy, has he called that Nags is gonna want to try to challenge this? Bluff on both sides though.
Staying quiet too, that's going to instill the paranoia into Nagzit, thinking that he might have just booked it back towards the B site, so he has to play a little bit further back so he can hear the sound cue. So this is going to be allowing Evil Kid to get the plant and reposition against Nagzit, who will not have any information whatsoever.
This is all down to how good is the Spidey sense. Nag's going to go over towards the small drop down, not making any noise. The prediction was in for Evil Kick, but Nags just drops underneath the pre-aim, and a huge win for RETA. Again, that's into the bonus, though, so there are still a lot of things that RETA's going to have to do, but at least they stave off GLRS from getting to 11.
And the pathing is good there for how you guess where your opponent could be for Nagzit on that retake, on that 1v1. It's planted tight towards the generator, or for A main, or for somewhere within the site potentially held. And the pathing that you do, if you're moving in towards 3 on the 1v1 on the attack side, you're not planning for yourself. So Nagzit makes sure that he fully clears from the top of Heaven. Nobody's peeking out here from the top, from the front of a site. So he just gambles that it's going to be a 50-50 towards Hell, and he guesses correctly to convert that round. And they mentioned on the desk, there was a lot of these rounds where it wasn't for Nagzit, they probably wouldn't have had like a dominant victory as dominant as it could have been against All Knights yesterday.
Yeah. Guardian trying to get some chip damage on the other side. Odin for Rude, and oh boy, they even bait Snowzen into peeking. So now the operator's off the table. Offense now overwhelming and threatening this B site, and it's just, here I am, nope, never mind, there's my teammate. It's just this little bit of bait and switch between the stairs and the sidewalks, and that's enough to get the spike safely on for a plant.
And how annoying is that? It's actually a bunch of utility within that site, keeping the trip from Rude, the second one, instead of watching an aggressive flank for a push from the catwalk or from A main, he uses it to actually play a turtle position with the rest of his team within this B site. Very much was thrown at the same time too, and they realized now with the time remaining that we're trying to save the op now for RETA. So they have to hunt him down, or they're confident of hunting down or trying to find that timing first. They're gonna hear Rongo, but Rongo's been really good so far on this map.
It's not gonna be good enough to get through the one shot though. And that's going to likely mean that RETA will hold on to this op unless there's an overpeak somewhere, but likely not going to be allowed to happen. They're just trying to get some more damage dealt. And that will be the end of it. Okay, so 11-5. Yes, the op is being held on to, but now we had to start talking about the offensive ultimates that are in play. You want to talk about, again, maybe some of the difficulty in cracking the code with 2 Sentinels from the attacking perspective. Hunter's Fury's at the ready. You've almost got Blades ready to go for Sato, and that's enough to section off these 2 sites to allow your Sentinels a little bit more freedom to move on in.
Yeah, and now when you're playing, you know, Hunter's Fury and trying to be proactive on those entries, and you don't have the KO to find the information with a knife at the same time while you're trying to drone or whatnot, it's nice the utility that you have with sonic sensors or with cameras at the same time. Like if you're trying to throw a camera aggressively around the Hunter's Fury and you're seeing that it gets broke instantly, then it already gives you a tell of where opponents could be. So you don't have to try to like chase around within a drone and try to get a pick and maybe surprise some opponents there.
Yeah.
But they're realizing here that, you know, they had a slow start at the beginning here of this tournament and then started turning things around, but this is a much needed win for them if they want to guarantee a position going into playoffs. So you have to really try to muster back that courage and that confidence to really bring it back here at this point, because yes, it started off very well of how they played their first and second defensive rounds, but ever since, or first and second attacking rounds, but ever since then it's been GLRS all around and all over the place, from extremities to middles to retakes and now to even post plans.
Wow. It's been an outplay. I mean, this has been out flat out.
Yes.
GLRS is outplaying RETA in every step.
RETA's back pick.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this is interesting. Day06 going to dive a little bit deeper in towards mid. Surely GLRS will not allow this to go uncovered, though, considering that you can see the smoke, you hear the teleport. See if they're taking a couple of shots for mid. Actually, now all of a sudden forces Day06 to have to get out of there, and ooh, a little bit more chip damage still comes through. Murray's still over at the side, looking to maybe back up some sort of this threat, but at the same rate, you also can't drop a tree here, so lots of pressure, but first shot lands, and that puts Sato out of condition. And the second clean with the headshot, while still avoiding the Hunter's Fury. Nags on the other side of this, he's got an operator, and how is this the round that RETA's gonna put together?
I love it. I love that angle on that tree, and Maurice really needed to step up right there. And if it wasn't for him, that was definitely GLRS moving into this A site. So you didn't use a Cypher camera utility, you didn't use any of the Deadlock sonic sensors. It was trying to get contact off Sato. He's going to be the first entry point. If he misses the shot, at least he's going to be the human drone that's going to be able to allow for them to get the Hunter's Fury trap
30 seconds left.
from Gelato. But for Maurice, that gets two kills on top of that. That doesn't give you a chance for GLRS to really activate and move forward around their Hunter's Fury and go for a successful A split.
Right here.
You're definitely seeing here with remaining before 40 seconds, they had no choice but to save their weapons into the next round. A great hold by the IGL coming out here from the RETA side.
Absolutely. Now they're on a little bit of a hunt as they're going to be able to collect at least one Vandal. Gets a read, tries to go for the wide swing, and Evil Kick is not interested in that. Rude's still holding his back, so the Odin will exist into the next round for GLRS, at least with one more Vandal. But this is absolutely what the doctor ordered for Bodhi. So again, just dancing alongside the Hunter's Fury, still finding two. Nags goes a bit unchecked with the operator. Very clean opener, and from there it's just runaway round, which is exactly like we said. It gets them right back into the picture, especially from the economy standpoint.
And super important for them to have that type of buy that they had going into this round. Putting the op onto Nags that we know in the chamber meta, or going back in 2021, it was a very strong offer here for a crew. And then they had the Bladestorm onto Snowzine to hold the other extremity, and they went for a 4-1 stack towards the A site. So it was a perfect read, but they didn't even need to cross the line of scrimmage here before Maurice was able to get those 2 kills and not give a chance for the rest of RETA to shine. But you'll take that any day if your IGL could start popping off here, and the rest around could hopefully build that confidence back in their favor. So you definitely see going into round number 18, Popcorn's back in the hand of Snowzine, still locking down this B main.
Oh, decent read here from Day06. Yeah, he actually throws a very early paranoia right over towards Tree. And how about it? Right, they get the perfect adjustment for this deep play over towards Glass. You see the barrier match was also thrown. That was supposed to be isolation there for GLRS, but it doesn't work out whatsoever. And that was a preemptive paranoia, followed up by the dart cover. I think there may have been a flash over the top as well. Just everything really combined nicely with the isolation from RETA's defense.
100%, and that was off the amount of huge that was being thrown, from GLRS' side into the garden. Throwing the mesh, trying to break the window, trying to flood and pinch back from the A side. So you flip, really, not necessarily the map, but just one portion of that map on the A side. And the defensive side tries to flood through the doorway and let everybody flood towards the heaven, where they actually did have a crossfire setup still towards that spawn. So a nice, once again, position by RETA with another early 4-1 positioning, and then Snow realizes that there's no peaks, there's no utility being used here
10 seconds
from GLRS' side on the attack on B. Well, he'll just stay there, and you're going to have 4 players on the other end. Good enough here to hold off the push from GLRS. Now it's time for GLRS, that's been doing good here on taking mid control here, Shift, but they got to start looking at these extremities on both ends, especially when you're playing this double Sentinel comp.
Well, the good news is now they've got the Odin and the Operator. I mean, not to make it sound like the map is one-dimensional where you have those, you win, but it definitely helps. I think especially
just on the first map.
Exactly. I think it's just the thing about it is like the Odin spam is just something you always have to worry about from the offensive side, especially as you try to approach over towards B. So it really feels like, again, those extra tools on the table limit your options. And when you deal with a squad that is double Sentinel, just trusting that you're going to find good control of space. I mean, your only initiator is off of what you find information-wise from Evil Kick. It's just your ability to flash and dash is just not there. So you have to use the map control best you can if you can even find it. And when those two tools are on the table, it just feels pretty impossible to do.
Yeah. And now you're seeing the battle of the extremities. A nice spotting screen. The camera pushing towards B main here from Rude's side. Unfortunately here it's a much lower buy that you have. The Bladestorm activated for Sato.
Right here.
As they control the orbs towards the A side, grouping up now towards B. So it did get a ping onto one. They know there's an Odin spray, and there's no turret up for Nagden. So for GLRS' side, they know they're playing the default of the weak side towards B because of that KJ and Odin utility, and they maybe want to try to exploit that at first.
It's just so tough because, again, there's no way to get these blades into play besides just hoping that Sato can just go crazy. And you don't have the ability of flashing. You have no paranoia here either, so you really have to hope that Evil can cause some distraction here at B while the rest of the team tries to overwhelm at A, but that's not the case. Suther still has a flash and a fragment.
30 seconds left.
Snow is not in position, but close enough to maybe deny some space to the operator. And here comes the commit. Grabs that down in the back. Delzik in trouble, and that will work out. Follow-up flash is not good enough for Suther. At least not initially to get the clean kill, so Rude will follow up, but a barrier mesh is now down, and Snowzin only saw the hood of Luxo, cannot connect, not speed enough for a plant.
And that's where it gets difficult for you to try to retake without you can't break that barrier mesh. You have no choice but to wait and reposition. With everybody repositioning towards tree, there's once again so many players within the site.
Nice shot. Need more than that, though.
My territory.
Annihilation out. Snow. Whoa, what a shot from Snow. He's going to get pulled, but Nags is right here to help deny that. And Murray's. What the heck is that? Are we kidding? It's just Crossfire set up the initial shot from Snow before he gets wrapped in the cocoon is brilliant. The follow-up trade is maybe even better. And then Murray's just says, oh, okay, I'll help you guys out by hitting the Crossfire. Brilliant stuff.
Feels like Rude didn't expect the second player to play around the op because it's Sato with the op, and Sato with an op usually just plays it alone, but he ran back towards tree backwards unless he got tapped and tried to turn around and it just got backstabbed towards the end. But it definitely looked here from GLRS' side as how they were trying to fake the B side. It didn't work out because they threw the owl drone at the same time as the A side hit. The idea right there of having both Rude and also Evil Kick on that B side was trying to insert Evil Kick so that he could try to owl drone or recon dart to keep those players anchored up and hoping that some players would rotate across. But I think as soon as they broke the sonic sensor towards the front, and that was a dart from Suther, and it was only 20 seconds left on the clock, they're like, oh crap, we just gotta go hit it and hold W and hope for the best. And unfortunately, they got the worst. And that's RETA now only needing 3 rounds to tie up this game, and they're looking pretty good so far on the defensive side. And looking back at these games where the last time we saw Ascent, both teams were playing really good on the attack. But now we're seeing some strong defensive side from both in different looks with these compositions.
And I think importantly here in this round is RETA with the null command lockdown. Anticipate seeing one, if not both of those, as this hit starts to develop over towards B. I think if you're GLRS, you got to try to do what you can to force that null command out, or the lockdown actually comes through first. This is just going to commit through this. Nags is playing a little bit of self-sustaining defense over the top of it, but Urango gets a nice double. Lockdown will be split up, and with that, the hit through Boathouse goes unguarded. That is not at all how I expected that to happen. Lockdown before null command? Odd to say the least.
Yeah. They were just trying to keep them at bay and maybe forcing the hand of GLRS running in.
Well,
that works.
Yeah, that does work. That could now be an opportunity to drop this operator for a rifle. If you even want it. Snow's now moving over. Oh, what? Are we joking? Luxo gets completely split up. His camera's broken. Urango still holding the angle, though. We'll get 4 in the round in total and save it as GLRS will get to 12.
Get us Snowzine. Yeah, he doesn't get the kill, but at least he broke ankles so that Suther could come in for the kill towards the end. But that was flash in a plan and a flashy play, but unfortunately just still not enough after, you know, getting out of that one from Snowzine and staying alive. You only had 4 HP and you're still trying to retake the site with an operator. Very difficult to do here at this point. And yeah, it turns out to be pretty good towards the end. But both of the teams are playing some pretty stellar defensive side because we haven't seen too much going on the attack. But it's still map point though for GLRS.
Oh, yeah.
Nice start here from Snowzine.
Yeah, heck of a first shot. Most importantly, it's on to Sato. So now you start to ask the question if you're GLRS of how do you execute here? Especially with just 2 Sheriffs and the Vandals and supply of support. Gonna have to essentially force it. Just comes down to can they split anything up before they actually commit, and there may be some sort of a route through mid here. I would love to see them at least delete the alarm bot and keep the focus up. The problem is the Aldron's going to try to scout this and slow down the play through mid while the rest of the defense is still very comfortable around B.
Break this alarm bot right now for GLRS so they can force here and keep Marie's teleports the spawn to do that. So he's going to have to stay here towards the back of the spawn. He does have a Hunter's Fury, at least to support from the spawn onto either extremities. So GLRS, they have to pick up the pacing a little bit more. If they could waste out this Hunter's Fury in their lower buy, it'd be a small dub once again in their camp.
Thing about it is the RETA not going to make that call unless these two players at B just lose their fights flat out.
30
you can
seconds
see it.
left.
They're holding just flat out corners. You watch one way, I'll watch the other. Spy cam plays initially. Aldron trying to see if it can catch on to Nag, but the reveal on the other side from the defense is beautiful. That is all from 30s playing deep side of mid, and that means that Nags can stay really closeted over towards the backside at Logs. Nowhere at all for GLRS to go after that first blood on Nasada was connected on.
New Case just going to try to save and hoping to save this rifle into the next round. They are players who hold around the spawn and B site and try to hold it back. Even gets suppressed, but nobody really trying to chase it for now. You know, the economy is still not the best, but it's still pretty decent for them to actually go on that hunt and break that weapon away from Evil Kick. But this is a little bit of life right now for GLRS. Still at map point, having a chance now to call a timeout with the economy that they have. Try to close out this first map. It looked good for them once again on how they played this defensive side. But on the attack with this double sentinel, and they haven't really had a chance here to really activate Urango within the sites to really throw that util towards that spawn and prevent this flood to happen. That's really on the RETA on how well they've been playing on these slightly forward positions to really catch these players off guard, to not give them a chance to really set up in these moments.
Timeout here for GLRS needing to find, again, I think the issue is how do you get clean execution? It's just without the ability of guaranteeing some sort of a flash and dash, which has often been why the meta is the way it is here on Ascent. How do you control space in the face of operators and Odins, down in the overall eco, to get even a plant in the first place? And maybe the answer is you just try to flood and hope that a shot gets missed. Like, I hate to throw it into like the world of rolling the dice, but
as simple as possible.
Just try to put your smokes into corners, try to force the angle to be more awkward for where an op could be standing, and then just hope that Sato can pull the aim away. That seems like maybe the only option overall.
Might be the case here. Shift grouped up around this side, not really set up for an instant paranoia because Lucho seems to be too far away for that.
I mean, you just can't walk through that corner. You just can't. I get it, you're trying to Odin spam out the elbow, but you just cannot walk through. You just can't walk through. You can't walk through. You can't walk through. I don't know what else to say.
You can't what shift? You can't what?
You just can't walk through. We still have the paranoia. Okay. I mean, we have both. We have still a paranoia and we still had a cyber cage. Like, we're just not breaking down the space here. And, well, Snow's going to find an easy freebie as Lucio just teleports right in front of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now a 4K for Snowzine on top of that, switching over from an op to a Vandal left behind by his compatriot down at the switch. But the idea was sort of there. I think there was probably, you know what, you can't walk towards main, but maybe a camera, Aldron, something very early towards the main to try to push that line away.
Yeah.
Could have been a good start. But at least before Lucio went from DP towards the spawn, he did go for a smoke in the spawn area as well of the B site so that the rest of his team could actually try to hopefully deathball from main. But it's hard to create and get into that choke if you haven't really added a little bit of that pressure in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And that's also the disadvantage of not having a KJ, not having a KO as well to try to create that space in these ult moments.
And the thing about it is, like, use one of the dark covers that towards B main, block that elbow angle, and then just wait for it to be recharged. Like, you know, use the game the way it's built. So now all of a sudden we're back to pistols, and the RETA are sitting here saying, these guys can't figure us out. I mean, legitimately, with Snow hitting like he is, you're going to get a couple of ultimates in the mix here as well as we try to force into overtime. The Hunter's Fury first and foremost, but the lockdown's right around the corner. You got to be feeling like if you're RETA, this is 12-12, we got this.
They're going to do it again. Try to play the contact on 3, and then the Hunter's Fury potentially to open things up. But interesting enough, they didn't use it around the element that was used on the defensive side by Maurice. But Maurice has his own Hunter's Fury playing further back towards the Suter getting the opener. That's a great start.
Oh, good movement from Suter. He was about to get completely wrapped up. There was help nearby if he did need to get bursted out of the cocoon, but
30 seconds left.
Really, there hasn't been much to talk about here for GLRS in what is just, again, the Sheriffs. Interesting that Snowzen actually popped the knives out in this round. Not that it, it's going to be one thing or the other. Wait, hold on a second. He may need them. Wait, are we joking? Sheriff shots are starting to land. Good thing he's got the knives. That's what I said the whole time. That's what I said, man, silly. Thank God he pulled knives out.
Oh my gosh, one more round to go here, and RETA is pulling the comeback in the second half. And I thought it was going to be maybe a Hail Mary play once again, as you have that Hunter's Fury available towards that Gelato. But they just decide to go for a hit. Unfortunately, gets all of them denied, but you've done some good econ damage, at least with those last 2 players remaining in the front of that A site. But what was, at the beginning, a very confident and strong, and a cat that was cackling on the side of GLRS on the defensive side. They're feeling a heat now from RETA's comeback.
Oh, yeah. And look at this. They're going to bail on B. Cyber Cage just to hold the angle for a much, maybe keep the operator planted a little while longer, but Nags is deep. And, surely they don't push through this.
They Cage should try to fake it at the first point, and then with the forward positioning currently have, though. Okay, this doesn't take anything yet.
That's all over towards A, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so for right now, RETA still thinks that there's a potential that it's a hit towards the B site. And they still have the op with the turret watching that area. The Cage was hoping to insert players over on the orb box so they could try to go for crossfire or maybe bait out if there was an Odin on that side. But they made it out the op shot that missed, and that was the game talking about, Chip.
Huge shot from Sato. Thought for a moment they're going to be so distracted by the operator they're going to not check the corner, but now all of a sudden you're on site. Maurice, he has been a little quiet this map. Can he find a way to pop up? No, he tried to get back into Arches and completely denied from it. So now it's a 5v2. And wow, the plant's going to come out, and I just don't know how you re-break this. You've got a flash, a fragment, and a paranoia to work with if you're RETA.
Not ready.
It's going to be so difficult. Both of them.
Oh no. And the fragment doesn't hit.
Towards the main.
That fragment was
given away.
Yeah, that fragment was meant to go over towards the backside of the sidewalk, and it doesn't hit. So now it's just down to how good is the aim labs here for RETA. Not good enough. 13-11. Sato, the one time he misses the opening shot at B main, turns into Snow opting to lose that angle. Yeah. And then Sato just runs up, finds both, and then it's just all action. Really good stuff for GLRS to find the only offensive round they really needed after they won the Pistols.
And I was talking about such a pristine round that was and a comeback that was happening for RETA. I do want to jinx it to talk about. Hopefully, we don't see a big comeback, but unfortunately, we did at that point. But as you mentioned, Chip, maybe you should be a coach at that point because you said maybe they should just deathball and hope that Snowzine's going to miss an off shot, and then they'll be able to deathball right into that. And that's exactly what happened. Snowzine misses 2 shots, and they actually cleared that corner to take the player out towards Fish Market for a bit, for them to be able to float within the site and finally convert that 13th round for GLRS to win that first map. It was close, it was neck and neck, but when you have so many rounds ahead too, you'll come out with the victory in the end for GLRS.
And let's be honest, it really was relatively one-dimensional. Snow hit shot, defense wins. He misses shot, defense lose. So that's sometimes the way Valorant goes, especially on a map like Ascent. We're going to head to a break. A huge opening map window for GLRS has them looking at a second win in the group stage, forcing a potential major tiebreaker situation. We'll find out how things go when we've got Bind on the way back on the backside of the break.